I had to stop being the perfect mom, and here's why. As a parent of teenagers or kids in general, you know that things can change on the fly no matter what time of the day it is. Whether they're asking for a friend to come over or they have some new activity or event they want to go to. If you have an ex or blended family, that throws a whole nother set of surprises sometimes. But trying to live out this perfect mom life and like this perfectly curated life is not really realistic unless you just are maybe in the 1% of people, moms, who can carry that out. So number one, don't worry about being the perfect mom because, first of all, a lot of that is thrown on to us by what we see on social media or mom guilt from other moms or ourselves. And it's not a real version of what life should be. We have kids that are teenagers and now have a mind of their own. They have events they want to go to. They have dinner plans they think they want to make. And if you're not flexible, then you're going to find yourself in a constant state of irritation. I do well with doing a weekly and a daily planner, meaning I like to look at my week as a whole and know what exactly I have going on for the full week with my kids, work, my own life. And then each day I am constantly making sure the agenda is where it needs to be, that we are getting things checked off our to-do list. And without that, I don't function well. What I have learned is the first thing of not trying to be the perfect mom is understanding that even though, yes, you know what your week looks like, things can still change, and that's okay. That is okay, because if you have a general idea of what the whole week looks like, when your kids come to you and ask you for a sleepover, or they want to go out to eat, or they have a school function they want to go to, if you already know what your week as a whole looks like, it's easier to give them an answer kind of right away, whether it's yes or no, versus the good old, I'll think about it. Because trust me, if you're like me, thinking about it to a kid basically means no, or a constant need to nag, and all you're going to get them is asking until you give them an actual answer. So if you look at your week as a whole and you know what is going on, you don't have to worry about not knowing, can we fit in, an extra concert this week or an extra basketball game. You already kind of have an idea of what your week should look like. But if you're unorganized and you have no clue what's going on to your week, then it's just going to feel like a curveball being thrown at you every single time something's being asked of you from your children. The second reason, which is pretty big, if you are a divorced individual or living with a blended family situation, is the ex. The ex is a big reason why you should learn to be flexible and not strive to be the perfect mom and have everything planned out to a T. In my life, my situation, I've been divorced for 9 years now, so I feel like I have some ground to stand on when I say be flexible, because if you're dealing with a co-parent or a parent, it doesn't mean they're always going to actually co-parent well, that is constantly signing your kids up for things or trying to add things to their schedule, which also affects your schedule. It gets very, very frustrating. I used to get very irritated when my ex would sign the kids up for something new, or he'd want to take them here or take them there, or things that landed on my parenting time that ultimately wasn't like the kids were going to miss out on some great thing in life, as he kind of made it sound like. But if I didn't just say yes, or I didn't just like happily be like, oh my gosh, yes, let's add another soccer league to our schedule, I love that so much for us, then all of a sudden I was the bad guy because I didn't want to do it, or I didn't learn to be flexible. So I've learned that with my ex, I've had to lower that expectation level to right about here. The reason is, if you are in a divorce situation, you maybe understand, if you're dealing with somebody that you still co-parent with, that you still share custody time with, that your time really isn't yours. And it's a little daunting if you think of how many years you have left with your children under the age of 18, because technically your ex can control some of that time. And trust me, it's super frustrating because you're divorced now. You're not supposed to be controlled by this other person and them telling you what to do, when to do it. But when you have kids, sometimes these exes like to throw things your way under the guise of, well, what's best for the kids? What do the kids want to do? When a lot of times the kids care less about all these activities and extra things on their schedule. They don't want to do them. So instead of trying to strive to be the perfect mom and constantly just like add things to your schedule or not be prepared for these curveballs that exes love to throw at us, I've learned in this area that if I lower my expectation of the normal expectation of how people should interact with each other from my ex, I've learned that things go a lot more smoothly. Most people maybe would communicate, right? Beforehand, they would give all the facts, all the details. They want to have, conversations about signing somebody up or joining some league or adding something new to the schedule. But if you have an ex that is just not that way at all, it can be very frustrating when you just feel like every other day, every week, there's something new that they want to do. So instead of expecting them to communicate and have conversations like normal people, probably will never happen. You just realize that they're never going to do that. So when they throw things your way, you, again, already know what your schedule looks like, what your life can look like, what it can handle and hold, and also depends on what your decree, states. I will put that little disclaimer in there. Always follow what your decree says. If it falls on your parenting time, a lot of times the courts will say the parents can sign the kids up for something, but if it falls on the other parent's time, like you can't force the other parent to take the kid, right? So I have learned to have some boundaries in this area just for my own peace of mind. And guess what? My kids are still thriving. They're not missing out on life. They do plenty of activities. They're in sports. They do all the school things. We just have to learn to manage those expectations sometimes. And lastly, I kind of mentioned this at the beginning, but the last area where I would say make sure that you are trying to throw out the perfect mom image is the social media keep up. We're not living Pinterest lives, guys. We are not walking around social media advertisements. As much as this world really wants us to live that way, that's not reality for most people. It's really, really hard for the average person to keep up that lifestyle with also living like a realistic life alongside of that. So don't worry about what the next mom is doing on Instagram or what new trend is on TikTok, or this family took their kid to 5 different trips this year, or another person is eating out every day. If it's not fitting your budget, your life, your timeline, quit comparing yourself. That's probably the easiest, most simplest concept, but in today's time, in 2026, it's really hard for us to do that because our life is consumed with social media. And I just don't want us to get burnt out as moms, because there is no such thing as a perfect mom.